Do you remember the good old days when kids would play all day outside and come home for supper? Your child is encouraged to freely plan their own time, to use their own imagination. Hi, this is Wendy Gunn, the founder of Your Home for God, an online coaching brand that helps Christian women to raise godly kids and establish and build a successful, godly family and achieve God's unique goals for their life and their families. And today I want to talk to you about the good old days. Do you remember the good old days when kids would play all day outside and come home for supper, and where kids would pretend and explore? They weren't glued to screens, and they would have adventures. I want to encourage you as a mom to use discernment and wisdom and pray, but to think about the possibility, thinking about your child's or children's ages and your environment, and allow them to have some time where they're not supervised every second, to be outside with them for that matter, but to allow them to enjoy nature, to play outside, to encourage that from a young age. Not planned activities. I'm not talking about going to the pool or having a group of moms and kids and everything is, that's not what I'm talking about. That might be, there's a place for that. I'm not saying that there's something wrong with that. I am talking about where there's no schedule. There's no plan. Your child is encouraged to freely plan their own time, to use their own imagination, to pick up a stick and do, something, pretend they're somebody, to look at the bugs and the things in the grass. Your child should be encouraged to do that kind of creative play. I discourage you, perhaps I should be saying, do not give your child, your small child especially, your phone to play with. You are going to be working against their addiction to screens for a long time. You want to introduce screens as late as possible. You do not want to have your 2-year-old used to a screen entertaining them. I feel rather passionate about this. I really encourage you, if you want to raise a godly family, encourage interaction in the family. Encourage siblings to play together. Read aloud as a family. Read to your children. There are so many fabulous books to read aloud. And encourage them by reading to them to want to read and get the best books. I have a blog post that's called, well, I'll put it below, for the best character building books. And I have it by age so that you can pick. I just really encourage you to let your kids have a little more freedom in their play. Do not referee. I've been meaning to do a video on this for quite some time. I remember years ago This isn't exactly refereeing, but it fits in here. I remember years ago, the child is now 20, I believe. I've seen this child grow up. 18 years ago, when they were about 2, it was a boy. I remember he fell down, and the natural reaction of a woman, me, was to, oh, whoops, talking with my hands, swoop in and, are you okay? You know, kind of reaction. And the dad, who was right there, was like, no, he's fine. You do not have to respond at all. Raising a son to be a man. Let him fall down. Let him skin their knees. Let him have some accidents within reason, obviously. Let them have some experience of not knowing what to do next and having to figure it out, of getting into a scrape or two that's not dangerous particularly, and having to figure out what to do. We were blessed when we moved to this house. For a number of years, there was an empty lot next door, and it was like a woods, an acre of woods. And our children were blessed. They were 5.5 and 9 when we moved in here. We live on a lake, and yeah, there's certain precautions you have to take. There's certain training you need to do. But we were blessed to be able to send them off into the empty lot next door and let them explore. They could climb trees. They could, yes, is there a chance that they'll fall and break something? Yes, of course. I would rather have a child break a leg than hover over them all of their growing up years where they can't do anything for fear that they might hurt themselves. I encourage you not to be a helicopter mom and not to be a referee. I was a referee for a time, and I regret it. We have a son and a daughter, and the daughter was younger, and there were older children in our where we live. And our daughter would come in and tattle on, and cry and be the victim. And I admit, I refereed. I encourage you to help your children to be each other's best friends, first of all. I encourage you to train your sons. They have a natural, God-given desire to protect women. Encourage that. Encourage that. I encourage your sons to protect their sisters, to protect you. Maybe open the door for you. Women nowadays we're too independent. I encourage you to make a difference between boys and girls and their roles and the way that they act. I encourage you. We need more of that. And you can send me all the comments you want. I totally encourage you to make a difference, because there is a difference. There's a difference between boys and girls, and God created it. God created your son a boy. He created your daughter a girl. And I encourage you to have all your children be each other's best friends, to be loyal to one another, to stand up for each other and protect one another. Friends will come and go, but family is forever. It is true, and your children can be each other's best friends. You want to raise a godly family. You want to raise godly children with godly character. I've raised my children to adulthood, and they are walking with the Lord. And looking back, I can tell you some of the things we did wrong and some of the things we did right. And I want to encourage you to allow your children to be outside playing, and you're probably saying, I would love to, but you may have already made mistakes that encourage your children to be in front of a screen. It's going to take some time to break those habits. What is your example? We as parents have to pray, P, be an example, E, and train, T, pet. That's the three-legged stool of Christian parenting. And I just really encourage you, if you're a fearful mom, I encourage you to pray and to trust God with your children. I'm not saying put them in danger. You have to be responsible, and you have to be discerning and wise. But I would almost guarantee that you could be a little less controlling of your children and allow them a little more freedom to explore and be creative in their play. I encourage you, and let me know how it goes. This is Wendy Gunn at Your Home for God.